Welcome to Popternative, where we dive into topical discussions from the worlds of pop culture, social media, and sports. Here is your host, Peter Remoliotis, aka PD Beats.
PD Beats here from Popternative is speaking to Laura Jean Marsh about her film Giddy Stratospheres. Thank you so much for doing this. Welcome to the show.
Oh, thanks for having me. What an intro. Wow.
Absolutely. We have two guests, it seems, on the show today.
Yeah, this is Panda. She's into death metal. She's not into indie rock. She looks like she's from a death metal
I am
band.
into a lot of music, and I do like my death metal, my deathcore, so I think we'd get along absolutely. Film is amazing. You did a lot on this film. You wore many hats. What was it like kind of putting together a film where you were kind of in it in multiple capacities a little bit?
Well, I mean, I'm still kind of recovering from it actually. 'Cause it kind of, yeah, it was a lot. But I had an amazing team helping me through it. So, it kind of kicked off with me writing it, and then before we knew it, we were filming it, and I was in the thing as well, and directing it. It was pretty crazy, and I was very tired, and but you know what it's like with adrenaline. You just kind of go with it, you roll with it, right?
And I think it's an interesting thing when you're working on a project like this, directing, writing, acting. Maybe some of them you're more comfortable than others. Like maybe you were more comfortable like acting rather than directing, but you kind of have to get thrown in a little bit and kind of learn as you go, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Like, I'll be honest with you, I don't know if I'll ever do that much again on one project. It was a lot. I mean, because obviously I was in so much of the film, and the film was very much about a period of time in my life. So it was quite stressful in lots of ways.
Yeah.
And directing it was quite full on because, it was an indie budget. So we were on time limits most of the days. But I had the most incredible team. Like my producer, Beth, she plays Bella in the film.
Yeah.
And my assistant director, Josh, he plays Jasper. So we were all kind of working our asses off in so many different areas. So I can't, even though obviously most of it was on me, I had the most incredible team. Like we really were like just a really tight bunch, and they were all my mates. Yeah, it was a team effort for sure.
For sure. The film was eventually like first it was released in the UK, and then you got distribution in the States and everything. What was going through your mind when those deals kind of were approved and they were happening, where more people were going to be able to see your film? Like I bet it's a pretty surreal feeling.
Yeah, it was like a tidal wave of craziness, if I'm honest. Yeah, and I'm still, like I said, it's all still kind of happening. So, I never thought in a million years when I wrote this little indie movie that, based very much in an era that's quite niche. It's this little niche indie music scene, and the storyline is quite centric to this era and some sort of occurrences that happened to me in my life.
Yeah.
So when my original the UK distribution company Bulldog, they picked it up from the script stage, so we hadn't even finished it. So that was pretty amazing having them there to support. And then the amazing Gravitas Ventures in America, they were so excited by the the UK trailer.
Yeah.
That they wanted it as well.
The trailer is amazing. I just have to say, because that's a big component of selling a film, right? Is like the trailer.
Did you like it?
I love the trailer. I was gonna bring that up. It was one of my talking points. The trailer is awesome.
Oh, good. It's kind of like a music video, isn't it?
Maybe that's why I like it.
Yeah, that's what I wanted it to be like, because I direct music videos as well, and it's like I really wanted it to feel like a real smack in the face. And yeah, I've had a lot of good feedback from the trailer, and I think it sells the film and doesn't give too much away. Yeah. But it's really nice to hear that you were into it, so that's cool.
I do have specific questions about the film and about your music background and everything, but before that, can you just, for my viewers, tell us what they can expect without going to the spoilers about Giddy Stratospheres? So can you just tell us a little bit about it?
Yeah, so Giddy Stratospheres is set in the indie music scene in 2007 in London. which was a really exciting time for music and mayhem and hedonism and fashion. And it was very much a period of time in my life which formed me.
Yep.
And Giddy Stratospheres is about two best friends and their journey to the female lead, Lara's grandmother's funeral. And they're kind of coming down off drugs and lots of drink, and they've been up all night. And she's very much in denial about something, and you're not quite sure what it is. So her best friend Daniel is trying to trigger off all these memories to try and get her to remember what happened the night before.
Yeah.
And I won't give the game away, but it's about friendship, it's about music uniting.
A lot
people.
happens.
A lot happens in a short space of time, yeah. And it's also about dealing with your family and mourning, and it's a coming of age kind of vibe. And one of the big things that I wanted to pull off, which I'm really proud of, is it's got the most incredible soundtrack. So we've
good.
got we've got like some of the best music from the time, like real massive indie bangers. So if you're into your music, it's even that alone, it's a lot of fun. So I think that kind of gives the gist. I have to be careful because I love talking about it so much. I might end up telling everyone that
it's hard. It's hard to do interviews. The hardest thing too is like, the film's is out and available, but like it's hard. My biggest thing when I do interviews is like when they give me like advanced screenings of like a film or a TV show and it's not out yet, and like you really have to be careful because it's like you want to talk about certain things, but like you can't because it will give away.
Yeah, I appreciate that. But there are things that involved in the story which I think have surprised people over here.
No,
and I think it's okay to say that doesn't give too much away. But I appreciate you trying to be careful.
Oh, absolutely. Now this is a question about the film, but it's not a spoiler at all. I mean, you said at the beginning, indie films, like if you look at the big scale of things, this is a small film. This is a small film. There's nothing small about the characters in this film.
Yeah,
like big personality, a lot going on. Yeah. Did you want right away to incorporate complex big characters, or did it kind of just happen when you were kind of making the film?
Well, I mean, a lot of the characters are based on real people, and it may seem sort of unlikely, but a lot of those people were like that. There were so many big personalities on this particular scene, lots of creative people, lots of artists and big personalities, lots of lost people in their early 20s that were trying to prove themselves. And I think, I mean, it's a dark comedy, so I did kind of amp it up in certain scenes. There was a lot of I really like playing with improvisation, so I really pushed all the actors to really go for it. But in those kind of clubby environments, people did act crazy, and they were loud, and they were ridiculous, and everyone was trying to be funnier or more popular than everyone else. And also that combined with drink and drugs and missing your family and being in a city on your own, you do act like that, And as for the family, like the family characters from the other part of the story, they're all big personalities as well. So, I didn't exaggerate it too much. It was a lot of fun trying to kind of create those people and pull it off.
Oh, absolutely. Have you thought about takeaways, or in terms of what you hope people get out of it when they get to watch your film? Have you thought about that? Like when they watch Giddy Stratospheres, like what are you hoping they get out of it, Laura?
I think, I hope that, I mean, there's been a lot of talk between me and especially my lead actor, Jamal Franklin, who plays Daniel, who gives the most incredible performance as Daniel, is that, I think something I really want people to feel comfort in is that if you don't have a family that give you what you need, you can find your family elsewhere. And I think that one thing that, the relationship between Lara and Daniel really is like family.
Yeah.
So I hope people feel a comfort in that. When you're struggling, you have your friends there, and that doesn't mean that it means that you don't have to be alone. And I also hope people just really enjoy the fun of it, because it's such a onslaught, and it's obviously it's upsetting as well, but I hope people just are left feeling like they've had a real taste of that era, and they are left feeling like there's hope
Yep.
hope, I guess.
Absolutely. I want to get a bit kind of deep and philosophical with this next question. I want to know if you know where I'm coming from or what you think about this. Because you mentioned, you direct music videos. Music's a big part of your life. You're around a lot of musicians and everything. I've noticed something that's happened. There's obviously that stigma attached to musicians, like the ego, like they're like better than people because they're big music, like the rock star mentality, right? That's always been around, right? Pandemic kind of hits and a lot of people are not able to do a lot of things and a lot of people are in tough times and they gravitate towards music to kind of get them through tough times, or they have more time so they get to discover amazing bands, and music's kind of like medicine. Do you think indirectly that musicians and that stigma and that ego I'm talking about got pegged down a few notches because people realized like, wow, like we're actually making a difference in people's lives and we're actually like, we need to check the ego out the door because people really need us? Do you know where I'm coming from with that a little bit?
I know where you're coming from. I mean, obviously a lot of creative people, not just musicians, but all kinds of people that entertain or actors or comedians, stand-up comedians, lots of people whose entire like life revolves around being on a stage or being sort of idolized in those kind of big rooms with lots of people. Obviously it was a shock for them, but I think it was a shock for yourself and myself and everybody having to be at home and not being able to play out their usual roles every day. I don't know, I mean, like a lot of my friends are musicians and I wouldn't say they're necessarily egotistical. I think some people are, but then I also know lawyers and bankers that are really arrogant.
Absolutely. The question was tailored to music, but you can relate it to everything.
Yeah,
absolutely.
No, but I think that one thing I did notice especially about putting the film together, a lot of the musicians that ordinarily would be on tour or recording or out and about, they were all at home. So I managed to communicate with a lot of people about the soundtrack because they weren't out and about. So I think it enabled me to connect with those people on a more kind of personal level.
Yeah.
And a lot of the actors, a couple of our lead male actors are quite big comedians here, and they weren't working, so maybe they wouldn't have been able to work on my film if they hadn't have had the time. Yeah. So yeah, I guess people maybe were slightly humbled or some people might have been by the pandemic, but I think a lot of people were.
Because it's self-reflection. A lot of self-reflection was done. Like a lot of people had a lot of time to like think about things and kind of like
and reflect. I'm usually I was really busy around the time before we all got locked away. And then I had time to write the film.
Yes, you did.
So to reflect. So yeah, I think you're onto something there.
Absolutely. I wanted to thank you so much for coming on Popternative to chat about the film, Laura Jean. Thank you so much.
Absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.
No problem. So the film, it's interesting. It was out in the UK, but now because of Gravita's Venture, it's going to be out in the States. So they're going to be able to check that out as well, which is exciting. Plug away.
Yeah.
Where can people follow the film on social media? Where can they follow you on social media? Plug away.
So we've got our website is www.giddystratospheresfilm.com. And then I have my own website where you can follow some of my next projects and more about myself, which is just laurajeanmarsh.com. Instagram, Giddy Stratospheres film at Giddy Stratospheres Film and at Laura Jean Marsh. And on Twitter, we're at Film Giddy and I'm at Laura Jean Marsh.
Amazing. Well,
I remembered it all. I never remembered.
That was awesome. You rehearsed that. That was great. Well, this has been Popternative, youtube.com/Popternative. For previous episodes, till next time, it's Laura Jean Marsh from Giddy Stratospheres and Petey Beats signing off.
Thank you for tuning in to Popternative. Make sure to check out our past episodes of Popternative on YouTube. Be sure to like Popternative on Facebook and follow us on Twitter.
This has been an Autograph Communications production.